Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com. We're a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do projects, training, and consulting, so check us out. And welcome to episode 23 of Think Out Loud. It's part 4 of our fake work on the Disney Vacation Club. And I'm not even sure we're anywhere close to done. So this is going to be a long one, but hopefully it's a series you are enjoying. Feedback is welcome. If you think there's anything I could do better or differently or something that would help you more, please do let me know. My internet has been a little blippy today, so I'm hoping that we are not going to be interrupted or disrupted by that. Fingers crossed. And meanwhile, let's of course thank the low ego action heroes who have pressed the join button on YouTube. Totally optional, but always appreciated. The people are giving $3 to $10 American per month, and that just helps keep me in streaming software and chocolate chips, and I ate way too many today. So thanks to everybody who is donating to the channel. Hey, Nadu. If you have not seen Think Out Loud before, very quickly, what we do here is we do a realistic but fake project, and we take a look at how we would plan research. Of course, we can't do the research. And then we take a look sometimes at how we would design, imagining that we got the results back from research, making sure that we are not the user and we're not just designing what we like. And I think out loud so that you can learn from what I'm doing, my process, how I make decisions, how ideas come into my head. And because we're live, if you're joining here, you can ask questions as I go or make suggestions, and it's kind of a fun collaborative learning adventure. So very quickly, we are on our 4th episode working on Disney Vacation Club. The first 2 episodes, 20 and 21, in the YouTube Think Out Loud playlist, which you can go and watch anytime. Those were some project domain knowledge, and then we worked on our generative research plan. Hey, Sumit. And then we did some design last week, and this week we'll do some design as well. But then I'm going to be taking a few weeks off because I'm going off the grid to try to finish my book. So there will not be a Think Out Loud for the next 2 weeks. I'll try to do one again on August 15. I think that would be, am I missing 1 week or 2 there? Hello. So let me show you what we're up to so far. We are working on a availability and booking interface for a timeshare system. Now, again, in previous episodes, we gave you some information about the timeshare system. So, of course, if you haven't seen that, you might ask some questions today that we answered previously, but that's okay. Don't be afraid to ask. All questions are welcome. So let's jump over into my Acture file, and I'll show you what we've got so far. I also made a couple of small changes just before the show. What does a low ego action hero super suit look like? I'm thinking red cape, but that's about it. Okay, let's see if this puts us in the right screen. And yeah, great. So we've got me, the optional tip jar, the chat room, and of course, my screen. So these were my notes of things I wanted to remember to make sure that we are designing for. We spoke in previous episodes about knowledge design, about making sure that even if someone is a newbie or not savvy about this particular timeshare system, that we are still designing something that makes a lot of sense to them. And as I like to say, answers their questions before they're asked. So for example, last week, something that we designed was, and these are just placeholders. I don't remember exactly how many people these rooms sleep, and really all of this text is placeholder. A professional writer, content strategist, content designer would be fixing up all of my text. So, hey, Sirocco. So remember, all of my text is placeholder. I am pretty much never the writer on the job, so placeholder text everywhere. And we added how many can sleep in this room, because that's knowledge we have. Otherwise, if you say, one bedroom, what's going to be right for me and mom and dad and the kids and whatever, you've got to know how many people can fit in that room. And I don't think that's on the existing site now. And one thing we pointed out last week was that I am not going back and forth between looking at the existing site and working on my design. Why? One, I've already looked at the existing site. I've made a couple of notes. Number two, if you keep looking at an existing system or competitor system as you design, you're probably just going to make it a little bit better. I'm really hoping to take the Disney Vacation Club availability and booking system and blow it out of the water, and sure, keep some elements that feel like a traditional hotel booking experience. You don't want people to feel like they landed on Mars, but it's not that there's anything so amazing in the system now that I really want to copy paste from the existing system. I want to kind of go blue sky and big and say, what if we just built what is the right thing based on our research findings? Now, again, I'm pretending that we've done research. We really didn't. We planned the research. We didn't do the research. But hey, that's all part of the show. And if you would like to see the Acture file, I didn't upload today's yet, but you can. I'll upload it at the end of the show. At the end of the show, you can find it at letter V, number 3, letter R, letter N like Nancy, number 9, .axshare, AXSHARE.com. And that will give you access in a browser to the file. You won't be able to change the file, but you'll be able to see the file. You'll be able to see our generative research, and now we're working on the design. So since last week, I made a couple of changes just to try to speed things up a little bit. I added these plus and minus dudes, these incremental things for the number of people who are traveling. Now, ultimately, what's the right default for these numbers? The right default for these numbers is whatever we learn either from our research and or data and analytics. I can always go to the data team at my company, or we might be pretending that we're an outside consultant to Disney. We can always go to a data and analytics person and say, middle of the bell curve, on average, who are people booking for? 1 adult alone? 2 adults alone? 2 adults and 2 kids? 4 adults and 3 kids? You tell us. Whatever is the most commonly seen combination of adults and kids is probably where we want to start this. Or we might look at this as what percentage of people book adults only? If it's a pretty good percentage, then we probably wouldn't want to auto-add children, because then those people have to remove the children, and then that's, not fun for them. So let's say that we start it with just kind of middle of the bell curve, 2 adults traveling together, whether they're in a relationship or siblings or parent-child or super buddies. So let's assume that's the default, and it's a safe default. Now, I made this work in Acture, which means we can flip over here to my browser. And one thing I didn't do, which Acture can do, is I didn't say, don't let these numbers go below 0. I'm just going fast right now. As we explained last week, this is nowhere close to my final design. Of course, I would have to take it to usability testing. But to me, I don't start by sketching. I just jump right into Acture and start putting things on a page. And so, in a sense, this is my sketch. I'm not making everything in the prototype work realistically. I'm just putting some things out there in a sketchy kind of way. So I do have it so that you can actually say -1 people are traveling. And of course, that's not realistic. I would fix that before taking it to usability testing. But for now, it's okay that these numbers increment and decrement into oblivion, even though, of course, in reality, you would not want to say, I have -1 children. That sounds, could be depressing. So there you go. I added that. And then I just started playing with a really simple outline of a calendar. Now, obviously, this is a not totally realistic looking calendar. It's missing days of the week, for example. But I just wanted, again, as an early sketch of an early concept. And also, I'd probably put 2 months next to each other so that people whose vacation kind of goes from the end of one month into the beginning of the next month, have at least 2 months that they can look at. I think the current site shows 3 months at a time. I don't think that's a bad idea, but I would certainly show at least 2 so that if a vacation goes from 1 month into another month, they're looking at both at the same time. And, okay. So I just did a really quick outline of 1 month because again, sketchy mode, I just wanted to start playing with a couple of ideas. And of course, another idea I started to have was, how many vacation points is this? So for example, if you pick a 4-day weekend here, the system should add up these things and tell you how many points you're going to need. Now, in the Disney Vacation Club system, as we learned in episode 20, not every day is the same number of points, and not every resort is the same number of points. So in a sense, what I have here isn't quite correct just yet. And that's because we don't know how many points it's going to be. As we learned earlier, every resort is a different number of points. So instead, what we might do is, let's save this interface possibly for a little bit later. Maybe this is a good match to your search results. Remember, right now we're trying to do an availability search. We want to look for rooms that we talked earlier about how if people pick a disability-friendly room, we're going to make sure that we show them a hotel with those available. It wouldn't make sense to show people with rooms available, but not disability-friendly rooms available, and then find out later, oh, you can't get your room. So we decided this was something to ask early because the system should know this. We also decided to add this, and again, these are features that are not on the site now. We're dreaming a bit big here. We would want to make sure and be working with our product managers and our engineering teams and make sure that the system has this information and that for this project we can utilize that information to improve this search results and booking experience. Sometimes you'll work with a team and they say, look, that information's in the database somewhere, but we really don't have the time to write the code that's going to sort your rooms or filter your rooms by, are they near an elevator? Or they might say, that's not even in our database. Hi, Manuel. They might say, that's not even in our database. We don't even know which rooms are near elevators and which aren't. Again, I don't know how hotels work, but this is part of our collaboration. We don't make any assumptions. We don't make any guesses. We just go and find out. We go ask the people who know, is this in our database? If not, what would it take to get in our database? Can we hire a couple of data entry people for a week to mark which rooms are near an elevator? I'm sure we know which ones are on the first floor. So these are some examples of where we do have to collaborate with other people who are on our team or in our company so that we're not just designing something that can never exist. That's always frustrating for everybody. It's fun to design big blue sky ideas, and sometimes I'll leave them in the designs and I'll say, hey, this is in the design, but we realized we don't have time for this year. I hope we'll do this. I hope next year we'll understand which rooms are near the elevator for people who prefer that. And rooms near the main building. I think they have that now, so I think they know that now. I don't think that's new. And then special requests technically may or may not need to go here. We might decide later once we walk through this really isn't part of searching, but it would be part of booking. So maybe we take this out and move it until later. Maybe we try to ask people the least possible questions we can ask them to just get them into that next step, which is seeing what available rooms there might be. So again, this might not be the right place for other special requests. Do we need to eventually ask that? Absolutely. Do we need to ask that before they've even seen if we have a room for them? Probably not. So I'm going to slide it out to the side just as a reminder that it's something we will need to include, but it kind of doesn't make sense here. And that's why you can see my early process I'm calling kind of like digital sketching, because I throw a lot of things on the page, and as I review them and talk about them out loud or with a coworker, and as I think about them, I start going, oh, you know what, that really doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Doesn't have anything to do with what people are trying to search for right now. Same for cot or crib. That shouldn't affect your search results. It will be something we need to know later if you need, but we don't need that now. So I'm going to move these into kind of a holding pattern for things we're going to need to know later if they do book a room. If they don't book a room, we didn't need to know this. So I'm just trying to streamline that experience and help this be a little bit more efficient by not asking them questions that we don't need to know now. When I did this last week, that looked great. It felt great. Nobody said this looks bad. But now that we take another pass at it and we think, I tell people when you take another pass at your designs, keep asking yourself, can this be simpler? Can this be more efficient? Do we need to know this information yet? So we will need to know that information, but not yet. I know we've got almost 20 people watching live, so as we're going, please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I see these episodes as collaborative. So the next thing we wanted to know was what type or types of room, and I put types because I'm thinking maybe people want to, maybe people are open to more than one type. You know what? I'm traveling with me and spouse and 2 kids. We could stay in a studio because it sleeps 4, but we might prefer 1 bedroom where spouse and I can close a door at night just to have some space from the kids, even though they're right outside the door on a pull-out couch. So yeah, I might say, gee, I'd be okay with either of these. Now that's going to make search results a lot more complicated. The Disney Vacation Club system does not do that now, and it's an idea I have now, but if I try to design it later and it adds an unnecessary amount of complexity to understanding what's available and things like that, then I'll probably trash it. And I'll probably say, you know what, that was just wouldn't pass heuristics. It was just too much cognitive load. It really didn't make sense. It didn't help people. It probably was a downgrade. So let's just have people pick 1 room type at a time. So again, something that we might play with later and see if we can figure out a good way to do that without making this overly complicated. Because the way it is now is complicated, but still bad to use. Then the next section that we built last week, so let's think it out again in case it sucks and we can already make it better with our time together. This was which hotels you want to stay at. Now, I'm just for the purposes of our time together, there are more than these hotels in the Disney Vacation Club system, but just for early sketches, obviously if I'm taking this to usability testing, I am putting all the hotels there because if I'm testing with anybody who is savvy, they're going to go, where's the other ones? So I understand that there's more hotels. We have a list of them on the project details page, but for now I'm just working with these, and even on the project details page I didn't list all of the possible hotels. While you weren't looking, I made some of the checkboxes work. So now in Acture, these checkboxes function. I really just did the alls. So kind of I did the all Magic Kingdom, I did the all Disney Springs, I had those work, and I did the all here, but I didn't go too far with it. Like I didn't have it where if you uncheck these and you uncheck these, this one unchecks. So again, if I were bringing this to usability testing and I wanted to make sure that it was really realistic, I would spend the time to build the Acture prototype out to that level of realism. Very often when people talk about realism in a prototype, they think they mean visual design, color, typography, brand, stock photos, things like that. For me, I'm talking about interactively realistic, so that if people interact with this, it feels like the real thing. Maybe it doesn't have the final colors and Mickey Mouse and whatever, and maybe the style guide says I have to center things that I'm making left justified. Of course, we'd fix that. But I care more about the usability of it, so I want to make sure I build a prototype that is true and faithful and realistic to the interactivity. So for me, the choice is Axure. It is the only choice. I don't think Figma really comes close. Adobe XD, InVision, Sketch, not close. So we're going to let people pick if they have a preference. And we also talked last week about how we'll have some sort of icon here, which I didn't put in, showing people their home resort. We talked about how the timeshare system, when you buy a contract, you have a home resort. Many people choose to book in their home resort, but you don't have to. So for example, I wouldn't select that by default. I would see what people want to select, because even though my home resort is Old Key West, I always wish that I could stay at Boardwalk. And I didn't even put, or Beach Club. I didn't even put those on here. Those are some of the other hotels, and I just didn't put them all on here for now. So this is, do you have a preference of which place you want to stay? Maybe I only want to see search results for a few of these. For example, I kind of have no interest in Bay Lake Tower. I kind of never want, now I'm being the user for a moment, but I'm just playing out possible outcomes that we might learn in research are true for other people. We might learn from research that people always search all of these because they're curious cats. We might find that, by the way, the most hated resort for some reason, well, I know the reasons, at Disney Vacation Club is Saratoga Springs. You might find that people say, yeah, you know what, I want all of these except Saratoga Springs. I want all of these except SSR. I have done that search. So, again, we would know more if we had more domain knowledge, which I just happen to have because I am the customer, but I'm using that as domain knowledge and not you are the user. And then, of course, we can always lean on our teammates, again, whether we're in-house at Disney or whether we're an outside agency that they're working with. Sirocco says, and if you're new to Axure, Delta CX has a great Axure Basic Skills playlist to help get you started. Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful plug. Subscribe here on YouTube. We've got a playlist that's called Rapid Prototyping with Axure 10 or something like that. It's 13 hours of free videos. It's my core skills course. It will get you through beginner into intermediate, and I hope in November I will put up, I will re-record, edit, and put up my advanced course. So there you go. All right, what else? So we started with a when are you traveling, but we just realized just now that we can't show people how many points something is because we don't know yet. Because points are by time of year and by hotel and by room. So the number of points in each of these hotels for each of these room types for different types of years are different numbers. And we talked about that in episode 20, the first of this series. So again, if you happen to watch that, then you have the domain knowledge that there's this big chart of points. There's a whole matrix. And so the system does know the points, but we probably wouldn't be showing those until we got to search results. Manuel says, should the system tell the user which one is preferable for other user? What do you mean by that? Can you add some more to that? Should the system tell the user which one is preferable for other user? So I'm going to redo the when are you traveling, and I'm going to save the interface I started building today for our search results. Because in our search results, we'll want to show people, hey, a studio room is available at Old Key West for your dates, and here's what the calendar looks like in case you want to shift some dates, and here's how many points it is. Again, in case you want to shift some dates. Remember, we learned in episode 20 that when people buy into the timeshare system, they usually have a fixed number of points to spend every year, every other year, or every third year. And so that's why these point numbers really do matter. It's more important than a cash price. The cash prices don't exist on this website. It's points. So for example, I get 50 points a year. If it's 14 points a night, I am either going on a very short vacation or I have to have the knowledge that you can combine your points from multiple years to have a big bucket of points. Manuel says, like showing data on resorts other people used more and the one people hate are not that much. So Manuel's asking a really interesting question, and here's why. If we were a travel website like booking.com or Expedia or whatever, and we just hope you book something, then we might tell you, people like Bay Lake Tower more than they like Saratoga Springs, or Bay Lake Tower has a, I'm making this up, 4.7 rating and Saratoga Springs has a 3.9 rating. And so we think we have to help you with that information of which one people like more. But here's the thing in this case, Manuel. In this case, we're pretending we're Disney, or we work directly for Disney, or we're an agency to Disney. There's no way Disney's going to help you know that Saratoga Springs is undesirable. They hope you'll stay in it. They want somebody there. So very often when it's our internal world, we don't always put ratings or reviews up because we might have a product or service or hotel that is not as great, and we could really turn people off. Is Saratoga Springs a disaster? No. I've stayed there once. But I do know that it is the least desirable and pretty much always has available rooms because nobody wants to book it if you're savvy. Heath says, maybe the reverse works as well. I have $8,000 and X amount of points. After tickets, I have X left over. Where can I afford to stay? Is it much cheaper? And when is it much cheaper? Yeah, that's an interesting question as well. And that's why this when are you traveling is something I think we'll be working on this week and next week because, actually, there won't be a show next week, but I think we'll be continuing with the DVC design for weeks because I think there's so many interesting things we can do with both the searching, the search results, which of course would lead to the booking. Now, Heath, in this case, there is no way to pay cash for anything here. So it's not like frequent flyer miles where it's like, hey, you need 8,000 points and $100. Because it's a timeshare system, it's points only. And the only time you are spending any cash is if you are just short a few points. Say that I need 100 points and I have 95. Disney says, all right, we'll sell you the 5. But other than that kind of one-time bridge building little point purchase, it's not like frequent flyer miles where it's like, yeah, you can have these flights for 25,000 miles and $75. This is a timeshare system that just works solely on points. I have 50 points a year. I can combine those years, so I can have 100 if I combine 2 years. And if I'm really smart and I plan ahead, I can combine 3 years and I can have 150 points. Otherwise, I have 50 points a year. And I don't think I'm going to use my points this year. If anybody wants to go to Disney World, contact me. I will sell them to you at a great discount. Great for staying 3, 4, 5 nights. So we need to figure out when they're traveling. Now, I think in this case, and again, research would tell us, so we're pretending that we've done or our research partners have done our good generative research, and we are going to learn. One of the things we had in our research goals was, do people tend to travel the same time every year or every other year on whatever cadence they're on? Do they travel more randomly or last minute? Do they change when they travel? So, and the example I gave was when I was a little kid, we went to Disney World, I would say roughly every other year, and it was always Christmas week because that's when we had off from school, and that's when we went down to see my completely evil grandmother in her retirement community in Florida. And then we would drive away and go to Disney. So that meant that for the first X years of my life, I was going to Disney World the same week every time we went. So questions we would be asking in our research is, do people always seem to go the same time? Now, that could be knowledge the system has. Hey, you keep traveling Christmas week. Do you want us to show you Christmas week? Do you want us to show you Easter week? Now, that, of course, assumes either machine learning, or we have to ask what week they tend to travel. The problem there is that while Disney Vacation Club tends to have a lot of Americans, it can hypothetically have people from anywhere. And if you think about the equator, for many countries below the equator, it's opposite holidays. So like when we have winter break in America, in Europe, below the equator, it's summer break. So that could mess stuff up. And of course, not everybody celebrates Easter Passover or Christmas Hanukkah. And so you would have to start looking up religions. This could end up getting overcomplicated, and it could make people feel left out. So I think just to be simple, we're going to put in regular, choose your dates, and just play with that. Now, I didn't make the time to put in a date picker. I don't know if Axure has a default date picker that I can throw in. I don't like a lot of Axure's default pre-built widgets, but let's see what they've got just in case there's a reasonable date picker here. Let's see. They have a date picker, time picker, date picker. I guess we could put that in just as a placeholder. You know, is it my dreamy, perfect thing that I would have built? Maybe, maybe not. But, excuse me, let's see what it looks like. Set panel state to July, toggle visibility, show swing down, date field toggle. So let's take a look at what it looks like. And again, for now, it might be a good enough placeholder. But if we were building this out for usability testing, I might take the time to build the way I want the date picker to work. Or if it's an existing element in a design system, I'm not inventing it. So remember, I'm putting something up here right now, but technically, I'm not inventing this. This would be probably something that's already in a design system or component library. Looks like when I clicked here, the calendar came down. It's just a fake July. I can pick July 8. That's weird. July already happened, but okay, whatever. I think this is okay as a placeholder. Obviously, the format of this is a little funky. The usability of this is a little weird. Let's see. Can I type in this? No, I can't even type in this. It looks like the only thing I can do here is make this go up and down. So I wouldn't take that to usability testing. It's not realistic enough, but for right now, it's a placeholder. I'll take it. Hi, Sri. Janice says, hey, Debbie, for machine learning designs, how advanced does the engineering team have to be to implement them in a project timeline? Yeah, you'd really want to make sure that you are talking good and early to your engineering team, and depending upon how your company is staffed up, possibly some data scientists who might be involved in that stuff. Whoever is on that kind of AI or machine learning team. Some companies don't have them, some will. So it's going to be really hit and miss. You know, does Disney have them? No idea. Totally making this up. But hypothetically, we could use machine learning to see, do people tend to travel the same week every year? I used to travel the same week all the time to Disney, and then I started mixing it up more. So yeah, so that's definitely going to be a collaboration with engineering to make sure that we have the people and capabilities and systems in place to start trying to track, like, hey, you tend to travel, you know, Easter Sunday to the following Saturday. Want that again? But again, I think that's going to be a more advanced blue sky thing. It's the kind of thing I would make a note of in my design. I'd probably not design it. I'd make a note of it off to the side, and I would go talk to the product manager and the engineering teams like, hey, could we do something like this? Or could we at least start tracking this behind the scenes so it could be a future feature? Maybe for now we collect the data, we check our own algorithms and stuff behind the scenes, and eventually it's a feature. So could be that. The roadmap. So again, this is not a great date picker, but I'm just going to leave it for now as a placeholder. So Let's pretty it up a little bit. Again, all placeholder stuff, so, disregard how sloppy some of this is. But again, think of this as me doing sketching, because I don't sketch. I love when people post to LinkedIn, like, if you don't sketch, you're not a designer. Sometimes I reply and sometimes I just block them. But like, seriously, let's please stop saying these things. Let's stop saying, if you don't do this, if you do this. I go straight into Acture every time. I love, if you don't use Figma, you're not a designer. Congratulations, I'm not a designer. Do you feel better? I'm teaching you design. Tell me again. So let's see, arriving, whatever the hell day. Just slide this puppy over. And we'll do a departing. And again, this is just super placeholder, super sketchy. And depending upon, I'm writing what I'm saying, depending upon, departing, depending upon how confident we feel or how much we know about the back end of our system, maybe we even try something that we now see a lot on travel sites, which is like, hey, I've got leeway of plus, you mean how many, have you seen this? Like plus minus 2 days, plus minus 3 days, plus minus a week. So I think we could, if we find in our research that there are people who tend to travel with flexibility or plan with flexibility, that could be an interesting thing to add here. So let's say that we make a couple of notes off to the side that, again, I wouldn't necessarily put in the design. I might just discuss with my team. So discuss with team. Use ML to start tracking dates people book to see if there is a pattern for when they tend to come. Also discuss with team, do we find, or we could say, did our research find that people have flexibility in their dates? If so, what about plus or minus X days to widen possible results? So just something I'm thinking about but won't build in yet. Want to make sure that it makes sense for the project. Sometimes you come up with questions or ideas that don't fit the project right now, but could be something that the company might want to do in the future. I still note these down. I still talk to people about them. You don't want to forget your idea, or don't say, nobody's going to want to do that now. Forget about it. Write it down, document it, talk to people about it. Don't throw away your idea. Your idea might be great. It might be something people go, oh my God, let's do that right away. That's amazing. Yes, that totally fits our research. Good for business goals, good for users. Holy cats, let's prioritize that. Or they might say, you know what, that's interesting, but let's not explore that right now. For those of you who've ever gotten an Acture file from me, sometimes you will see a page over here in Pages on the top left that says Unused Ideas. And they're things I started building and then realized, you know what, I don't think they fit in what this is going to be for now, but I think they might fit something in down the road. And let's not forget that this was an idea. It's a thing. Okay, so for now, let's just do arriving and departing. So my question to you, for everybody watching, even though I know we're about 40 seconds delayed, so I'll have to wait for the answer, but get ready to type, is what else do we need to ask people before we show them some search results? Because we have the number of people traveling. I wonder if we even need that. Do we even, that's an interesting question. Do we even need that? How simple can we make this? Answer me. Let's talk about this, everybody. If I know what type of room you want, do I need to know how many people are here or are coming? Or can I ask you that once you're booking? Then once you're booking, you go, oh, by the way, this is 2 adults and 3 kids. Great. What's everybody's names? What's their ages? Do I need to know this now to show people search results? What do you think? I wish I could do like live poll. I didn't have it set up. It's in the moment. Just came up with it. Melanie says, or ask how many people will be traveling. Oh, but I think but why? Now, eventually we do need to know these numbers. Why? Because we need to check if they need park tickets. Park tickets are priced differently for adults and children. Maybe this will play into park tickets, but we're looking at hotel rooms right now. Larry Marine would remind you, keep people focused on the task at hand. The task right now is not, can we get everybody park tickets? The task right now is, can we find you an available hotel room for the number of vacation points that you have or can get your hands on? Do we need to know to get people those search results? How fast can we get people search results, get them excited about going to Disney World or back to Disney World, get them booking that vacation? Amir says, I don't get the question. Sure. So I'm asking about this part of the form right here. Do we need to know how many people are traveling in order to give people hotel room search results if the hotel room is not charged by the number of people in it? We're assuming people will correctly select which type of room they want based on how many people they know are coming. They know how many people are coming. Melanie says, good point. Yeah, interesting question, right? Because how often do you see your hotel search or something starts with how many adults and how many children are coming in the room? That can make sense when a hotel says, oh, you know, our rooms are for 4 guests. If you have a 5th guest, we're going to charge you extra. But this is vacation timeshare points. You're not charged extra. If you put, whether you put 5 people in the 1 bedroom or 7 people in the 1 bedroom, you're charged the same. CJ says, excuse me, could the travelers affect the room choices differently than them self-identifying when they see how many people they can cram into a room? If not, I don't know why we want it here either. Yeah, I mean, we built the knowledge. We're talking about knowledge design. We built the knowledge in right here. How many people can sleep in this room? And by the way, the search results typically explain the bed configurations. So that's also something that the Disney system knows. The system knows this room has 1 king bed. Good luck. This room has, or usually it's a king bed and a pull-out couch. That's your sleeps 4. They're assuming 2 people in the bed, 2 people in the couch. Or this room has 2 queen beds. We're assuming 2 people sleep, you know, in pairs, in beds. Melanie says, in that context, I agree with you. Just ask for room size and not who's traveling. Maybe then once you have results, let the user add criteria to narrow down. Yeah, again, I think the criteria will be necessary when we try to figure out if they can get park tickets, because that's, since COVID, that's now a thing at Disney, which we talked about in episode 20, where we did a lot of our foundational knowledge, which was you now have to have a reservation to get into a park. And so we would need to know how many people are going to what parks on what days. That's a level of complexity I don't want to deal with right now. Let's try not having this here. Let's just move it off to the side with our special requests and other things we want to know later, but kind of don't need to know now. So let's try starting with what type of room do you need so that people know right away that we're not fooling around. They know right away that they can consider how many people are coming. And another thing that could be added here, which is something that we could bring to usability testing, because someone might say sleep 6. How? How many beds are there? So we could say, ooh, you know what? That's a common question. So we could add to that. Let's imagine, for example, we have something that says most rooms have 2 queen beds and a pull-out couch. So again, just as an example, placeholder text, we could write something like that for each of these. So let's see. Most rooms have 2 queen beds. So for example, now you can say, oh, you know what? The kids are really too old to sleep together. That's getting a little weird. So yeah, you know what? We'll do it where we'll have this and we'll do this and we'll do this. Or you know what? Maybe we want 2 studio rooms. Uh-oh, 2 studio rooms. Now what? So obviously the system is not quite set up for, I want to book more than 1 room. That's probably something I would agonize over in another pass once I got the more common use case of I'm only booking 1 room. Once I got that really good, I would take a look at, can I create something for a use case where they want to book more than 1 room? And then you have, do the rooms need to be near each other? CJ says, maybe our room identifiers could have more details like you were listing. 1 king, 1 queen, 1 sofa. Yeah, let's imagine that. So I'm just going to write lorem ipsum room config. So let's pretend that this says that, even though it doesn't. Placeholder text, orama. There we go. And now we have our special requests because this was going to play into availability. We don't want to tell people there is a certain type of room if there is not. And so let's see, which hotels and when are you traveling? Let's move these up. We don't need the August calendar thing yet. That's going to be part of our results. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Just to be my usual me, I'm going to make a page, Unused Ideas. I'm going to cut things off of the design page and put them over on that page so I can just kind of clear out this page a little bit. Okay, and I know we've only got about 10 minutes left, so let's take a look. But notice how I keep making passes at my own design, and I keep saying, do we really need to ask this? Can this be simpler? Is this clear to people? So let's also take a look at some notes I made of things I didn't want to forget. Home resort and booking windows. We flagged the home resort. We did not flag the booking window. So that's something we haven't done. How many points do I have? That'll be important when we show people search results. How many one-time points can I buy if I'm a little bit short? I just talked about that. What might I need to know? What resorts are close to which park? Okay, we did that over here. Resorts near the Magic Kingdom, resorts near Disney Springs. What might I need to do after booking? Park tickets, water park tickets, park reservations, dining, shows, okay, so that's after booking. We're not there yet. But this was a helpful list that I made for myself earlier because I forgot resort booking windows. So let's add a little something here. And again, we talked about resort booking windows in the first episode of this series, which was episode 20 of Think Out Loud. So you might be like, booking window, what's that? So and again, I'm going to use placeholder text, knowing that a professional writer is going to come in and save my butt by writing something better. So you can book at Old Key West from date, from arriving between now and date. You can book at all other resorts arriving between now and earlier date. Okay, so we talked about how there's some knowledge in the system that if when you have your home resort, which for me is OKR, which funny enough is something else, Old Key West, I can book up to 11 months in advance. So it's August 1st, 2022 today. I could book arriving even late June of next year. Now that's because it's my home resort, so I get a home resort advantage. I can book really far in advance if I'm a big planner. But if I wanted to book for the other hotels right now, like you keep hearing I'd like to stay at other hotels, I have a disadvantage there, so that the people who have that as their home resort have the advantage. I can only book up to, excuse me. Sorry. 7 months in advance. So that means if it's August 1st, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, I'm only going to be able to book at these other hotels up to somewhere in February or early February, because it's early August, or I guess probably end of February, because that would be 7 months. So that means the people who have that as their home resort can book it even more in advance if they want. That's the home resort advantage. So that means many times I can get Old Key West before other people if I want to. Otherwise, I'm battling for these other resorts with all the people who didn't have them as their home resort and didn't get that first dibs. So that is knowledge the system has that we don't have. So for example, if we're thinking here like, let's not book our home resort. Let's book a different one. Let's do Copper Creek. Let's do Copper Creek Cabins. Let's do Copper Creek Cabins for Easter. No can do, because Easter is probably March or April of next year. I can only book until the end of February as of now because of the 7-month cutoff for your not home resort. So this is information we have to give people early, not only because they may not know or understand it. It could be savviness, or it could just be they didn't do the math in their head. They didn't do August, They didn't think about it. They just said, ooh, let's get Copper Creek Cabins for Easter. So we need to make sure people understand that, heads up, if you think you're going to try to book these other things for these dates, heads up. Or hypothetically, this could be something we only show people if the dates that they pick fall into this category. So for example, if it's August and I want to book for Halloween this year, all bets are off. Doesn't matter what my home resort is, doesn't matter what the other resorts are, totally doesn't matter. Maybe that's information I don't have to show them. But it is an interesting piece of information for people who are less savvy. They have to start to get to know this about the system. So I think I could see this one going both ways. I'll leave it for now, but I might simplify later, and I might say that it goes below these dates, and that if people pick something that isn't within these dates, maybe we don't show it. But I could always kind of slide it down, put it here. Maybe it's in a little smaller font because maybe it's like a little bit of a notice. So let's give it a little bit of a smaller font, and also send it to back so that we don't have a layering problem. That's just more of an actuary thing. And move all these up, tighten this up a little bit. All right, now we're cooking with gas. Let's take a look at how our page looks and see how we feel. And this August thing on the bottom is an idea I will use later. So just to clean this up, let's put it on the Unused Ideas page. Save it for later. And there we go. All right. So design, and now let's refresh it in this browser and see how it looks. Hey. Oh, I still have my notes there. Let's move the notes off too, just so we can really start to see this thing in more isolation. I'll put it on the Unused Ideas page. And we do only have a few minutes left, so just a reminder that there will not be this show next week. I'm going to be off the grid, heads down, working on my book, but we will come back to this hopefully on the 15th. And let's refresh it now. So let's take a look. So we're going to Disney, spouse, me, 4 kids. Okay, so I might want that 1 bedroom. Now, I didn't make these work yet. Normally, you'd click on them. They look selected. I didn't build that yet. Again, early sketches. If I start liking these ideas and thinking that they have legs and that they're going to be good for our target audience, I'll start building out the prototype more, but no reason to build the prototype out too far when I'm worried that my own ideas stink. And you can already see I've kind of undone a lot of, or at least not a lot of, but some of what I did last week, or at least I'm saving it for later because I don't like the order of things when I think about how easy this could be. Hey, what type of room do you want? Do you have room special requests? Which hotels are you considering? And when are you traveling? Now, one thing I think that feels a little bit non-traditional, and it's up to you as to whether or not you want to break tradition or go with tradition, is I think very often when people search for hotels and flights and accommodations, your dates are asked first. So maybe we move that to the top so that it feels a little bit more familiar. Is there any bad reason to move it to the top? No. Is there any bad reason for it to be at the bottom? No. I think if we just want to make it look a little bit more traditional or familiar, we might just put it over at the top. So let's see how that looks. And I'll put this here, though I might have a layering problem. But again, this is a sketch. I'm not going to worry about that until later. Now let's take a look again, and I'd like everybody to chime in on what you you're thinking about. The users, they're Disney fans, they've bought into the timeshare system, they're going to be traveling with their family, they've got their dates, and now they're going to put in their dates. We want to go from Easter Monday to the following Sunday. We want a 1 bedroom because there's 5 of us or 6 of us. Do we need disability or first floor? No, but my kids get so tired at the end of the day. We want that really convenient room near the front of the resort. And which resorts are, now again, my page is at the bottom here. So I'm just to give my page a little breathing room, I'm just going to put a little invisible placeholder. Because it looked really weird with everything kissing the bottom of the page. There we go. Okay, now I just have blankness. Which resorts are you considering? Savvy people might say, that's it. You know, this year I'm trying Boulder Ridge and Copper Creek. Boulder Ridge, terrible. Or bust, you know. Or you could say all of them. Whatever. Is that enough for us to give people search results? Did we leave anything out? I think there's one thing we could add, and I think I would like to add it before we end for today, so I'm going to run a little bit late. One thing we've been talking about is the knowledge of points, the point system. I've got 50 points. There is no reason for you to show me something that costs 200 points. There's no way I can get 200 points. Should we have a range, you know, hey, you have 95 points available for this year. You have 50 points available from next year that you could borrow. Do you want to see things within a certain range? Now, again, the downside to that is it added another layer of complexity. It asked people something they may or may not care about, and it's going to limit what search results they see. So, for example, Grand Floridian is way out of my league. The points are so high, it's not even going to come up in my search results, and I might be surprised by that. I might say, wait, I wanted to see Grand Floridian. So sometimes we don't give people every possible filter and every possible narrowing down that we could if we think that we have added too much complexity, or if we think that it's going to end up in a lot of search result disappointment because, oh, you know what, I was a few points, for a few more points I could have gotten that other thing. Yeah, I wish I had seen it in search. So I'm just kind of thinking this through out loud and saying, would that be an interesting thing to add? And I think I've talked myself out of it. So I could always put it on the Unused Ideas page. Should people be allowed to put in a range of points? Because I can only do 145 if I really strip out my whole year and next year. So, you know, maybe I could always put it on Unused Ideas just to have documented it as something I considered but didn't do. So I could put that over here. I could say filter by number of points. Maybe that's not on the search page. Maybe it's on the search results page. Hey, I only want to see stuff that is X number of points. So that's a maybe. I think I'll leave it off now for simplicity. So we are out of time. So let me go back to a giant picture of me. There we go. Hi. So again, to talk about what's happening this week, tomorrow I'm doing office hours Ask Me Anything at the usual time. All the usual times are 6:30 p.m. Italy time. We are doing on Wednesday, I'm going to be reading my article about should product managers do UX research or design? And we'll be discussing that article. And of course, Thursday is our community networking. We now have both a Slack and Discord community. If you would like to join either, they're totally free. You can find links to everything at deltacx.com/links. Hello, Dr. Nick. We're just wrapping up. So please do join us over in Slack or Discord. Discord is already hopping, so come on over. And we will continue this hopefully on August 15th, but I'm going to be taking some time off at the end of this week, mostly off-grid, to try to finish up my book and get it out to my editors. So thank you so much for being a part of today's show. If you have time, please go back and watch the Think Out Loud from the rest of the DVC series, so episode 20, 21, 22 in the Think Out Loud playlist, and that way you'll probably feel like, at least episode 20, you'll feel like you have a lot more domain knowledge, because this is definitely a tricky little thing that requires domain knowledge. But let's face it, all of our projects require domain knowledge. All of us have to learn more about the industries and verticals and universes that we're working in. We can't just come in and go, hotel booking system, here's what I like. You're fired. So, okay, so then I'm going to play us out of here, but I will see everybody, hopefully everybody, tomorrow for Office Hours Ask Me Anything, and we will keep going with this project. Thanks again for playing along, and if you have any suggestions for the show, send them over to me in Slack or Discord or LinkedIn. I'm happy to take them on board. Thanks, and catch you soon. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are